Hello, today I want to discuss a detailed collaboration workflow with DaVinci Resolve 18. I want to collaborate with someone across the globe, send over proxy files, replace the files later, collaborate on the edit, on color grading VFX, using the collaboration tools in DaVinci Resolve and the Blackmagic Cloud collaboration. So let's have a look how all of that works. For this I need a collaborator. Welcome Jo to the channel.
Hi!
And Jo, you are doing your own video channel in Germany. I'm sitting in the Middle East. So let's do something for both of our channels, shall we?
Yeah, let's rock!
So are you happy to help me with a little project on space exploration? I'm gonna make a small documentary and I have already set up a little bit, but honestly I don't want to do all the edit. And can you help me out?
As long as Elon Musk doesn't sue us, everything's fine.
No, I think it's all public domain material, so it should all be fine. I have already set up a little mini project and I have organized it in a minimal folder structure here, and I want to start working in this project together with you. First, I need to make sure that he has access to all the media and I need to give him access to this project. So let's talk about the media first. Let me quickly check what media I have. If I select multiple folders, you can look at everything at the same time, right? And in list view, I can look at some technical data. So I have the video codec and resolution here organized in the front. You can move them around. And you see that I have a mixture of resolution and codecs. If I sort by codecs, you see most is ProRes, but I also have photo JPEG. These tend to be quite large, and some H.264, Ultra HD, 4K mixture. Now, this is a small test project. It's just 10 minutes of material and just 30 GB of data with this. This I could probably transfer easily. However, in a realistic project, maybe it's not 10 minutes, but 10 hours, and maybe not just 4K, but 6K, 8K, 12K, maybe raw data. So in that case, just sending via internet may no longer be feasible. So I want to create proxies. The idea of proxies is to have small files which are good enough to be able to browse the whole project, to understand what's going on, to build a good edit, to see really which shot is good, which is not from an editing perspective, make the cuts, etc. But then I can revert back to the original media once I go into a stronger manipulation of the media, either via visual effects, fusion, or color correction. And then for the final delivery, of course, I want to go back to the original media. So that's the plan, but until I reach that final stage, I have time, and I can either send you a hard drive or I can let it transfer overnight. And I may not need to send him all data. Once we are done with the editing, I can also decide which clips I actually need the full resolution on, because a lot of it will not end up in the final editing timeline, and I can use only the media that I'm actually using and send only that over if I want to collaborate at this stage. Either way, I am starting with Proxy Media, and DaVinci Resolve has two powerful workflows for Proxy Media. There's a, let's say, traditional one which came in DaVinci Resolve 17, and then there's a new Proxy Media workflow with the Proxy Generator App. Let me show you the traditional one first. Both are still useful. So let's say I want to take the first clip here and create a proxy. I can just right click and click here, Generate Proxy Media. And then after a few seconds, I have created a proxy clip, and I see here this symbol that I have original media and proxy media at the same time. That's what this symbol indicates. You see that here in the list. You also see it on the icons. You even see it once it's in the timeline. You see it on the timeline and on clips in the color page. So you see everywhere that proxies are available, so you know what's going on. Let me undo this. Now, this is great. You can also get more detailed information about it here in the list view. You can right click and you can get the proxy information, which is the resolution and the path if you want to. So just I have the proxy field enabled. Where is it? Here it is. And you see the resolution that was created. So I have a 1080 proxy by 2048. Now, how is this determined? How is the resolution and the type determined? It comes from the project settings, in the master settings, in the optimized media and render cache section here in the middle. You have a proxy media resolution and a media format. I have chosen H.264 here. You can change it. I have the DNxHR, and under Mac you would have ProRes. So you have a few options. Low bandwidth is good for small files and fast editing. 264, 265, even smaller files, but also more computationally intensive from a decoding and encoding perspective. So on older computers it might be a bit less efficient, but otherwise very good for proxy. Resolution, typically you say use the original resolution or cut the resolution in half or quarter, etc. Or you do choose automatically, which just chooses whatever fraction best fits your project timeline resolution. So it tries to match the timeline resolution or something slightly above the timeline resolution. The best one to match this. Okay, so that's the traditional workflow. That's good, and you have options to customize it. You can also choose the location where you put it, which is down here, also in the project settings. You can choose which folder this goes to. That's all well and good, but there's a new workflow which works outside of Resolve, kind of. So you can even close Resolve. Let me actually do that. I close DaVinci Resolve and instead open an app called Blackmagic Proxy Generator, which is being installed automatically as soon as you install DaVinci Resolve 18 onwards. So this app comes automatically, and it opens automatically the first time it opens this watch folder. I can close it and do it manually later. So here are watch folders. These are folders that the generator is watching, and as it finds files in there that need proxy, it automatically can create those proxies. First, let me show you the folders. So I have here a link to my hard drive. So I have a media folder. In this media folder, I have my astronaut footage, and then I have subfolders, and in some folders I have subfolders in subfolders. So I have kind of a hierarchy. And now I want to take that whole media folder. So I take this path here. I just copy it to so I don't have to navigate. Once I click add here, I can navigate there, or I just, save time and go there directly. And I select the whole top level folder where all my media is. And now this can be watched. Right now it says waiting because the app is not yet running. As soon as I click start, it starts running and it starts processing. It found 30 media files suitable for proxy generation, and it starts generating proxies now one after the other. While that's running on my desktop here, I can also mention that I can run this on multiple computers. I can start and stop at any time, even from multiple machines, as long as they have access to the same network folder. So to simulate this, I brought out my old laptop here just to test it. This laptop has access to a Windows shared folder in my laptop here, and I have selected the same folder here, and I can start the process as well. And you see right now it finds only 19 files which are left over for processing, and it's starting to work on the first one. And on this machine, this laptop is like 6 years old. It will not really contribute in any meaningful way, but I can see that I can access the same folder and can run it right away. And it's significant that it's so simple. It just needs the folder. It doesn't need to communicate in any other way, so there's no network setup otherwise. If you have network storage in your facility and you have multiple good quality machines, you can use all of them to create your proxies in a relatively short time. My desktop has done the job, and it says now status completed. It doesn't find any more files here. I can stop it to get access to the proxies. If I look into the folder now, by the way, you see here now in each folder which has media, you find within the same folder a proxy folder. So the proxies are with the media, which has, well, pros and cons. The advantage is that it's easy to understand where they are and to find them and not lose track of them, and DaVinci Resolve can directly link to them. You don't even have to tell Resolve. So if Resolve finds a file and then finds the same name, the same file name in a proxy folder in the same directory, it directly links it. So it directly knows, okay, that's the proxy, you don't have to do anything. And that's the good thing. The bad thing is I can't directly share this, but I would have to grab each of these proxy folders. That's inconvenient. That's why this tool here has an extract process option. So you select the folders and click here, extract proxies, and then you can give a destination. In this case, I have something on Google Drive. Actually, I have a shortcut up here. That's why let me quickly open this and take the path so I don't need to navigate around. So I have a Google Drive shared folder between me and Mein Video Studio, which is Jo's company. So we have a shared drive where we can work. In this, I will add one folder called Proxies, just to be double sure that we know what I'm sending him here. And I select this, and now it's just copying all the proxies over, which is convenient. So he gets all the proxies right away. I should quickly mention this section here, so we can choose the quality. There are less options than within the Resolve menu. Basically, it assumes that you want HD proxies or half HD, which is basically 540p. The quality increases from top to bottom here, and under Mac you also have a ProRes proxy option, which is also a very good option for editing. Under Windows you don't have the codec, so you have the H.264, 265 options. It's getting better down here quality-wise, but computational requirement increases for encoding and decoding. So on older machines you might have to deal with the first two. On better machines you can try the H.265. It's not ideal for editing, but the file size is very small, and basically you see an estimate here for the file size, and it's pretty similar or even the same between the different options, and the reason is just, well, the file sizes are the same, but the quality increases and the compression level or the compression effort increases. So that's really the logic here. Now that's the good thing about this generator, it monitors the folder once it's running, so if I want I can start it again, and if I have new media coming in, let's say I continuously shoot or I come back the next day with more footage, I can drop in more stuff, and I just have a single clip here for demonstration which I drop into the folder, and the folder is being monitored like every few seconds or so. It identifies new files, and then once it finds them, it will immediately process them. And there we go, it's completed. And if I need to send this file to you as well, I can well, either manually do it, or what I could do is just extract the whole proxies again and just do this again. And well, since the files are already there, well, technically I think it's overwriting them, but since they were already there, they should not be synced again. So if you do have a shared folder via Google Drive, for example, then that shouldn't be a problem, I believe. I'm using Google Drive, but there's no real preference. You can use Dropbox, you can use OneDrive or an FTP server or whatever option you have to share files. It's convenient to have a synced folder which automatically syncs and which can download files on demand, which makes collaboration very smooth, especially if you need to exchange files repeatedly. If you just need to send them over one time, then of course you could also just zip up all the proxy files and send them via vTransfer or whatever it is. So the solution doesn't depend on whatever cloud or file sharing solution you want to use, or even put it on hard drive and hand over the hard drive, whatever you like. One thing which it has not done is has not created proxies for the photos, so there's no proxy folder here, and well, that wouldn't make sense because photos are, well, just single JPEG files, and I can just copy them manually, so we don't want H.264 encoding on photos. That doesn't make sense. So I'll copy them over. I go into my collaboration folder and just copy the Photos section separately. The same would go for audio files or anything else that is not suitable for video proxy. Okay, let me quickly head back into DaVinci Resolve. And now you see that all my clips have the proxy symbol, and they were linked automatically because the proxy is in the same folder structure, so Resolve found them automatically. And now I need to share the project with Jo, and he can link the proxies on his end. So far, the project that I have here is a local project. So let me go back to the project manager. I am working here in my local section. I need to bring this project over into the cloud now so that I can share it with you. I could have created it directly in the cloud, but honestly, while you're working on your own, there's no need. So you can just work here and start paying for the cloud only when you really need it. So this is quite significant. You can move projects always back and forth, and you can cancel the account anytime and start working locally again. So that's really, really good. I have in my cloud section here, I have already a collaboration library called VX Study and Mine Video Studio, which is Yo's company. So we are using this one here for collaboration. If you're setting it up for the first time, you just click down here at Project Library, and it opens a web browser to the project server that is running in the cloud from Blackmagic Design. And here again, I already have a project library which we used before, but you can click down here to create one. Just choose whatever location is closest to you, enter a name, click create, and then from that moment onwards you start paying. And obviously I don't want to pay for something I already have, so I will click cancel here. Quick note, if you're watching the tutorial as it's coming out, this service is being rolled out in different geographies at different times. It's available in the US. If your account is in other places, you can still participate in projects, but it's possible that you can't enter the payment details and it will stop you at that point if it's not available in your location yet. So for me, I have a US account here which is working just fine, and you can participate, I hope. Let's invite him. So once you have the project library can be used to share any number of projects that you want the same people or same group of people to have access to. And when you click here, you can see the members. So I'm the member, of course, because it's my library, and I can share this library with Yo, just with the email address that he used to create his Blackmagic Cloud account. Share. And there we go. Now he has access to this library. Now I just need projects in this library.
And I just got an invitation email that just says, hey, Bernd wants to collaborate on something with me.
So now he has access to the library. The library has only an untitled project. We could start with new projects, but since I already have one, I can copy it. I just go over to my local projects again, and in the folder here, click the project and have here a copy to feature. That's also new in DaVinci Resolve 18. You can copy projects with it, so you don't need to export and re-import, and you can copy locally or to the cloud. And in this case, I can copy to this library, and I don't have folders in there. It's just the home folder. So we copy into this.
And as I refresh, the new project comes up.
Great, so Yo already has the project. I can open the project, and as you can see, it's the same project. The thing is, once I open it, if Yo also wants to open it, he will get a message that it's read-only.
As you can see on the screen, and I have a lock icon up in the right.
So the default is that only one person can work on the project, and the others can only view the project. That's kind of the safest way of working, but it's quite fine to collaborate and let both people work. That works as well, but I just need to enable it. So once I open the project, he is kind of locked, but I can go back, right click, and now that it's open, I can also enable multiple user collaboration. And here I can switch the open project from single user project to multiple user collaboration. And once I select this, now you should be able to open it.
Right, as soon as I refresh, I see the icon has changed, and this is a multi-user project now, and I can open it as well.
Okay, so now we are both in the same project. I can see where Yo is moving around, so you see the photograph and you see where he's moving around. And Yo, could you start editing? I haven't done anything yet except for set up the media. Could you just quickly create a timeline for us and start editing a little bit?
So I go into the timeline folder and create a new timeline. And now I have a timeline in which I can drop footage, but all my footage isn't linked yet. So I need to link the proxy files. we got the Google Drive plugin for Windows Desktop. And this acts basically as a drive folder itself. I can pull up my stuff here, and this is just a local hard drive. I just hit the relink media button and I just locate the files where they are in my local drive, and I can go and tell DaVinci to find them. And then once I've relinked the proxies, I go to playback, proxy handling, and prefer proxies, and I should see all the medias. And now I can just work from the proxies themselves without needing the high-res footage for the edit. So I can punch out a quick little edit. Hey Bernd, I've done the basic edit and you can watch the timeline in the preview.
Thanks, Jo. I have a look. Let me go into the timeline folder. And there's the timeline, and I see your image. You're working on this timeline, all right. So I can open this timeline and well, I can see what you have done. Very good. Excellent video with 5 clips. So we're probably going to have to do more on this.
Brilliant editing.
Yeah, okay. It's just a tutorial, but the great thing is I can see it right away. The sync is really fast, and I see the timeline, but I can't mess with it. So I can't annoy you by doing random deletions or anything. The tools here are locked. The timeline is locked because, well, Jo is working on it. Right now, Jo and I are talking to each other live, but that's not always the case. If you quickly need to pass a message over, you have a chat feature down here in the collaboration. And you see who's in the project. So it said Johannes Füssel joined the project, and we can use the chat. And I could tell you, can I please access timeline 1? And let's see if he is responsive on the chat.
Well, now the chat icon lights up red, and I say Bernd's message, and I can say of course or not right now. No, but I'm fair to him. I will let him have the timeline just by right-clicking on the timeline in the media bin and then go to Timelines, Unlock Timeline. And now the timeline is unlocked and free for anybody to use who jumps on it next.
Okay, let me jump on it. I am on it. You see the symbols here are still locked, but if I open it again, just a double click on the timeline, now you see my editing symbols become active, and I can start editing here and start messing with it or adding new items, etc. So we have this locking feature which makes sure that only one person is editing and we don't have conflicting edits. Keep in mind there can always be a little bit of latency in the, depending on your internet connection, etc. in the sync, so it's very good that we don't do like live playback and fast edits and both of us at the same time, and then we are confusing each other. So that's why there's this lock feature in there. I did mention the chat, so we can always open it up again. Just keep in mind this is only for while you are in the project. It's not to send messages after leaving the project, so it doesn't really have a history, at least not at the moment in the current version. If I want to give you a message, if you're not working at the same time, but I want to leave a message for him for later, the best way is always to use timeline markers. So the marker feature you are probably familiar with. Let's say I want to tell you here something, or myself for that matter, and say, hey, let's have a title. So I might just add a marker, leave notes. If you want, you can, by the way, you can also open the marker overlay here, the annotations. You can even mark things on the screen. You know, I want a title right here, you know, because we would have never guessed where it should be, etc. And, you know, mark things. You can type in here, so you have some options, etc. To do an overlay, to do some comments and so on. Jo, do you see it?
I just need to refresh my timeline up on the right side of the viewer, and then I have the marker. The marker was there instantly, but the text hadn't been there until I refreshed it, and now I can also see the overlay with the X that Bernd drew.
And now it's my time to unlock the timeline, and you can again continue if he wants to and put in one of his great fancy Fusion titles. Do you have one?
So now since I have the titles and stuff, I can just drag one into here after the timeline is unlocked. I need to claim that by double clicking on it, and now I should be on it and my editing features are unlocked. And now I can go to my titles and just drag one in. I just use this callout title to point an overlay to it, and that's it. And now I have a fancy text for this shot, and I could leave the timeline to somebody else to work on. But there is one important thing to keep in mind. You have basically two modes in your timeline itself. You have all the pages that use the timeline, like the cut page, the edit page, and the audio page, so Fairlight. But you also have Fusion and Color, which are pages which go by clips. So there can be multiple roles in your team. For example, somebody has to do the color grading, and somebody has to do the editing, and somebody has to do compositing. So while I'm in Fusion, I can work on the title itself or on the macro, and Bernd doesn't even need to have this one. And as soon as I'm in Fusion and right click on timeline, you can see the timeline is unlocked now, and Bernd can edit the timeline itself while I'm on the title, and I can just type in something else.
Let me give this a try, and I'll watch your progress while you are working on your title in Fusion. So I can update here the timeline. And after a second, I see the update and I see the Fusion template again. I didn't have this Fusion template before. Thanks for sharing, Jo. So now I have the template here, and it's being used right away and appears in my timeline. Jo is currently working on the template. Let's say I also want to do something either in Fusion or in Color. I can continue working. Let's say I do want to do something here in Fusion. We could be collaborating multiple Fusion artists on the same project if we wanted to, or a Fusion artist and a colorist. We can do it at the same time. I'm accessing this Fusion clip now, and I can start working on this one here. Let's say I want to, add something here, some text to this overlay or whatever it is. And if I open the clips line here, I can see I'm currently working on this one, and Jo is working on the template here. It doesn't have a media preview because it's just a Fusion Text Plus template, but I see that this one here is currently locked for Jo. And if we switch to Jo's screen, you see that he can see which clip I am working on. I can at any point go over. There's also this little refresh symbol which indicates that he has done something on this clip, on clip level. At any point I can go over, and if I click on the clip, then it will be refreshed and show the current status. They can see what he is doing right now, and as he continues working, then the refresh symbol might come up again. It doesn't come automatically while I'm on the clip, but at any time I can just switch the clip, go back, and then it will trigger automatically the refresh for me, and I'm seeing the current version, and he changed the color a little bit. The same principle that you see here in Fusion also works on the color page. So if I go onto the color page right now, you see that from a color perspective right now there's nothing locked at the moment. Jo is working on the Fusion clip, nobody is working on the color. Let's say I start working on the color and I do any extreme effect here, whatever it is, something to make it really obvious. And then we can see how it looks like for Jo in the color page.
And I see that Bernd has been grading this clip, and if I want to preview it, I can click on it and see the perfect purple grade that he's been pulling. And if I want to do here anything, I can't, since Bernd came before me, first come, first served, and the clip is locked, but I can preview it. But well, since I'm on Proxy Media, I will leave the grading to Bernd, since he has the original ProRes footage and I just have the Proxy Media. I will go and do some audio editing while he is on the grade. While he is grading, I can go into the timeline and take hold of the timeline back again, and now I can do some audio editing. So I will drag in some sound effects into the same folder that we shared on G Drive. I will just create a new folder, call it audio, and then I'll just drag and drop something into it. Also drag in from the same location that into a folder. I'll just create a new one in the footage called audio, and here's the bin. And I can just drag and drop them in, and I can add some sound effects if I like.
So now I open the timeline again and I have the audio and can listen to the audio effects. So far this proxy collaboration with Yo is working perfectly if he needs to do editing, title design, audio work, stuff like this. This doesn't need like the highest resolution raw media, etc. Once we go towards color grading, if Yo wants to do some color grading or VFX tasks that really require the full resolution like keying or pixel accurate rotoscoping, stuff like this, then he absolutely needs full resolution. But maybe he doesn't need it for all the files. So let me send him only those clips that we are using here. And DaVinci Resolve has multiple options for that. You can go into the file media management tool, and this media manager gives you ways to either choose timelines or to choose, well, you can export all media with it. That's one option. Then you see 30 GB is the overall media, but you can also choose only used media, which is media that is used in any timeline, or you can select individual clips and only export the selected clips. So you can make selections and then very quickly gather all the media that you have selected. In this case, I go to timeline and I only use the timeline 1. We should probably have given it a name. Anyhow, I will only use the timeline 1 and say we only want to export used media. And you see now this is only 5 GB out of my original 30 GB. You see here I can either use the media or the media and trim it, keeping a certain number of frames. This trimming feature is good if you are absolutely sure that your project is locked and you only want to do a handover to a colorist. Because once you do that, you are changing the clip duration. So it works well with ProRes clips, it works well with different formats. It's changing the clip duration. It keeps the original media, the original frames, but cropping the duration of the media. But then you also get an associated timeline where you have that reduced duration. The problem is going back. So if you later say, oh, I want this clip a bit longer, if you want to change the edit again, you can't really do that in any safe and efficient way. So this feature is great if you are creating a second project, for example, and there import the media again with a timeline, and then say, okay, I'm no longer going back. I'm only working on this media, on this shortened media. Now, if we want a more flexible way, use the full media, select a destination. In this case, I select once again the Google Drive, and I could put it in the same structure here, but you know what, just to be 100% clear what we're doing, I make another folder, original media. And if you separate it this way, by the way, you could also decide to only sync proxies and not sync the original media, right? So there are these different options in the file sharing software. Could just manually select it or later say discard the original media but keep the proxy and so on. So it's really well separated. And I will start, and this will now copy those files over. And since it is copying original and not transcoding, it should be fairly fast. And now it's all in the Google Drive, and now for those 5 GB, maybe we have to wait a few seconds until it's all uploaded and synced, and you will tell us when it's available.
So Ben sent me the files, and now I'm ready to relink the originals, but to show you that I am not having the originals relinked right now, I can go to playback proxy handling and disable all proxies, and there my files are missing. I click on relink, and there I can locate the original media files in my documentary. And now some probably haven't been found since we not have used them. And I will also locate the stars in the original media. And then you see I have the full media here, and I have the full resolution here, which is quite sharper than if I go to Proxies. You see the difference.
Okay, great. So we also have a workflow with full media resolution if we need that. So to conclude, you see we can work on all areas of Resolve almost at the same time, but with a reasonable locking mechanism to make sure we are not interfering with each other. In practice, that will probably not happen exactly the same way you and me demonstrated it, but you may have maybe an assistant editor who is working on one timeline and another editor working on another timeline. That could be possible. So that way they have separated their working areas and at the end put them together to not confuse each other and not have the necessity to unlock in between. Likewise, if you're working with audio, you usually start making timeline versions for the different mixes and so on. And then while the audio editor is working, maybe you're no longer changing the cut points because, you know, otherwise it's getting confusing. So there are some things which don't really make sense to do in parallel. But other things like VFX tasks, for example, work perfectly fine in parallel. And you see even within one timeline, it's very easy to separate and you can have different people working on different shots. The same is in principle possible with color grading. Thank you, Jo, for helping me on this project. We didn't really polish it to a final state, but I think we did enough to show what can be done in the collaboration workflow.
And if you want to see some fusion magic, just look at one of the videos here. Bernd is a fantastic trainer, so give him a like and an applause and some money. Give him your money.
All right, and in case you speak German, have a look at Jo's channel as well. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Bye.